Millions of dollars. This can be yours whenever you start your own company, or a lower failure rate with an established brand name. This is what can be yours whenever you buy into a franchise. So which is for you? Deciding whether to start your own company or buy into a franchise is an important decision an entrepreneur can make. On the one hand, starting your own company lets you build something that's entirely your own, your rules, your vision, and your legacy. On the other hand, franchises offer a proven business model, brand recognition, and ongoing support. Both options have their pros and cons, but the right choice depends on your personality, your goals, and your risk tolerance. I'll break down the 7 things to consider to help you make the best decision for you. The first thing is independence versus structure. Startups are like blank canvases. You have the freedom to create something that is entirely your own. So every decision, from the product's features to the brand identity, is up to you. Startups let you test your bold ideas, they let you pivot quickly, and then they give you the freedom to dream big and to follow through on those ambitions. This freedom also means that you get to establish the culture and the values that define your company. You're in charge of shaping how your company operates from day one. You're not adapting to somebody else's playbook. You are literally writing your own. And this kind of freedom is what makes startups really exhilarating. It's your chance to take on risks and innovate and to build something that's really meaningful, something that reflects your unique vision and your goals. I think that Elon Musk's journey with Tesla highlights this perfectly. Whenever Musk stepped in back in 2004, Tesla wasn't some well-oiled machine with a pre-built formula for success. It was a fledgling idea with a massive uphill battle. There was no guide on how to make electric vehicles mainstream or appealing or even profitable. And Musk and his team had to figure it all out, innovating on design, tackling supply chain nightmares, and reshaping how people thought about electric vehicles. And that's the magic of a startup. It's the freedom and the opportunity rolled up into one. But with that freedom comes the weight of responsibility. It is exhilarating, but it demands everything you've got to make it work. And when you buy into a franchise, you're stepping into a pre-built framework. Everything's already designed to reduce risk and set you up for success. With a franchise, you're not starting from scratch. The brand, the process, the playbook are all well established, giving you a head start and a clear path to follow. The real advantage of a franchise is its structure. You gain access to resources like in-depth training programs, marketing support, and ongoing guidance to help you tackle all of the challenges. Plus, you're working with a recognizable brand that customers already know and they already trust, which is an enormous leg up whenever you're looking to generate revenue quickly. That structure does come with the trade-off. Franchises thrive on consistency, which means that you're going to be operating within strict guidelines. Your ability to innovate or tailor the business to local market quirks is really limited. So instead of creating your own systems, your role is to execute the established plan. For entrepreneurs who value independence and creativity, this can feel really restrictive. If you found any value so far, please hit the subscribe button for me. You don't want to miss these next 6 points. The second thing is stability versus risk. Startups are inherently risky. There are no guarantees, just the potential to build something groundbreaking. It's a high-stakes game where uncertainty fuels the excitement. But that excitement comes with real challenges: securing funding and finding product market fit and outpacing competitors. Even with a killer idea, poor execution can sink the ship. And since there's no safety net, every setback can feel like a gut punch. The numbers don't lie. About 90% of startups fail. Succeeding means staying adaptable, innovative, and relentless in the face of obstacles. Franchises, on the other hand, trade that uncertainty for stability. You're stepping into a system that's already proven to work. Think of franchises like McDonald's or Dunkin'. They come with a built-in customer base, standardized processes and recipes and training programs. The level of risk drops significantly, with franchise failure rates sitting between 2% and 9.3%. Picture walking into a McDonald's. Everything, the menu, the layout, even how the fries are salted, is part of a tested formula. As a franchisee, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Your job is to execute it and maintain consistency. You're backed by an established brand, and the risks are far less daunting. Now, both paths can lead to success, but the one that you choose depends on the kind of entrepreneur that you want to be. The third thing is the cost and the returns. So starting your own business is often far more affordable than buying into a franchise. You can launch your own startup with as little as $100 or a few $1,000, depending on the type of business that you want to build and how you want to approach it. One of the biggest perks is that you're not tied down by franchise fees or ongoing royalties. So every dollar that you make stays with your business, unless of course you're seeking outside funding. If you go the investor route, you'll likely need to give up a piece of your equity, but that's a trade-off that many entrepreneurs are willing to make for growth capital. Franchises, on the other hand, usually come with a heftier price tag. Depending on the brand and the industry, buying into a franchise can cost anywhere from thousands of dollars to millions of dollars. And in return, you get access to all of the benefits that I mentioned earlier. One of the biggest advantages is a defined and established customer base. I mean, just hearing that there's going to be another Chick-fil-A around the block makes most people get really excited. Those perks come with a fee though. Franchisees are often on the hook for ongoing royalties, which can cut into profits. And there may be additional expenses for mandatory brand updates, like remodeling or remarketing campaigns and things like that. While this can cut into your profit margins, you don't have to have your creative wheels turning all the time. The fourth difference to consider is your personality and your goals. So if you're a natural leader who thrives on creativity and independence and innovation, then starting your own business sounds like the perfect fit. This path allows you to bring your unique vision to life and make decisions that align with your values and your goals. The journey requires resilience and adaptability, but for many entrepreneurs, it's super rewarding. Starting a business is ideal for those who want to leave a personal mark on their industry or their community, and they're excited about the opportunity to blaze their own trail. Franchising appeals to those who want to thrive within structure and appreciate a steady foundation. Again, you leverage the power of an established framework while concentrating on execution and growth. This approach often resonates with people who excel at optimizing systems and find satisfaction in following a blueprint. The choice also reflects your tolerance for ambiguity versus your preference for predictability. Founders often make decisions without any guarantees as they follow their own North Star and embrace the uncertainty as they innovate. Franchisees, on the other hand, leverage a system designed to minimize guesswork. The question here is, do you want to create the vision, or are you more comfortable in executing one that already exists? For me, I'm the type of guy that doesn't like executing somebody else's playbook. I really enjoy and thrive in setting strategy and building towards something big, something that I own and something that I've created. So I personally resonate much more with an entrepreneur starting from scratch than one that is buying into a franchise. The fifth thing to consider is long-term scalability. When you think about long-term scalability, startups are way ahead of franchises in terms of revenue potential. The key to scaling a startup lies in how well you can build the systems and attract the right talent and secure the resources needed to fuel growth and manage cash flow and more. The list goes on and on. In the early days, scaling a startup is no walk in the park. Finding product market fit can feel like searching for a needle in a haystack unless you put in the work to validate your idea. And cash flow struggles are all too real. It's one of the most common startup killers. But once you find that sweet spot, the potential is massive. TechCrunch research shows that startups that scale successfully often rely on a mix of strategic pivots and technology and a deep understanding of their customers to navigate through all of those early hurdles. Take Shopify, for example. It didn't start as an e-commerce giant. It began as a platform to sell snowboards. But the founders saw something bigger. They realized that they had created a tool that could help other entrepreneurs launch their own businesses. By shifting focus and providing a simple e-commerce solution, Shopify tapped into a massive demand. That adaptability, the ability to pivot whenever the market demands it, is what allowed Shopify to scale so rapidly. They kept innovating. They added new features like payment processing and integrations with mobile commerce, which made it much easier for the business to grow. And today, Shopify powers over 1.7 million businesses worldwide. This is the kind of scalability that can turn a startup into a global juggernaut, showing how aligning your product with market demand can facilitate absolutely explosive growth. Franchises come in with built-in scalability due to their business models, but there are some limitations compared to the flexibility of startups. Once you buy into a franchise, you're stepping into systems that already have been tested and it's ready to be replicated. The framework is set, so if you wanted to open more franchises, you could do that, assuming that you had the upfront cash investment on hand. For franchises like McDonald's, the operational model is consistent and efficient from menu offerings to the store layout. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Everything is standardized, whether you're opening your first store or your 500th. That's something that you can't do with the startup. I mean, imagine me starting a second Forecaster with exactly the same name, same logo, everything, while I'm already running the first Forecaster. It just doesn't work. That said, the growth potential within a franchise is still somewhat constrained by the franchisor's rules. You're operating within a system where innovation is limited. Everything you do must align with the brand's pre-established strategies. So while this means that expansion is clear-cut, it also means that you have less room to shape the business in the way that you would with a startup. You can scale quickly, but your ability to make changes or innovate is very constrained. For example, it would be crazy for the local Starbucks here in Kentucky to create its own special drink and change its whole menu while every other Starbucks in the United States has the exact same offering in the same menu. The sixth thing to consider is time commitment. Startups demand your full attention, especially in the early days. As a founder, you're likely juggling every aspect of the business: product development, marketing, sales, hiring, financial management, everything. Your schedule won't just just be packed, it's going to be overflowing. And you're going to put in long hours, probably weekends too, because the business needs you at every single level. Early stage startups are particularly time intensive. You're building something from the ground up, and that involves constant problem solving, frequent decision making, and regular pivots, all of which require significant time investment and mental bandwidth. Research from the Kauffman Foundation shows that the average startup founder works more than 60 hours a week during the first 2 years. And just whenever you think you're on a steady path, unexpected challenges and shifts can stretch that timeline, keeping you in a constant state of working long hours. While the time commitment is intense, many founders find it rewarding. It's a chance to grow personally and be creative and steer the company into your vision. But if you don't manage your time properly, the pressure can lead to burnout. And the challenge of balancing work and life is a reality for almost every entrepreneur, and it's a delicate line to walk. Franchises, on the other hand, require much less upfront time. A lot of the heavy lifting is already done for you, from systems to training to operational processes. With a franchise, you're walking into a setup that's already running, so you don't have to build the foundation from scratch. But don't be fooled, the time commitment is still there. You'll need to stay hands-on, especially in those early years. You're managing employees, you're ensuring quality control, and you're meeting the franchisor standards. Even though the model's been proven, the franchisees are still going to face a lot of responsibilities that are going to require ongoing attention. If you expand to multiple locations, it can be even more time consuming. And while the work is more structured, it's still a major time investment, just with fewer unknowns. Speaking of time, do me a favor and hit that like button and drop a comment to let me know which point you found the most useful so far. Only takes a few seconds. The seventh thing to consider is exit strategy. Startups are going to offer more flexibility here too, but they can also be more complex. Typically, founders have three main options: acquisition, merger, or going public. The most common route is selling the business, often to a larger company that's looking to gain the startup's customer base or tech or team or something like that. This can result in a big payout, but it requires finding the right buyer and negotiating favorable terms. Mergers are another option, allowing businesses to join forces and expand their market reach or gain strategic advantages. A well-executed merger can create a powerhouse with even more growth potential. Then there's the option to go public through an IPO, which is way more involved and requires financial stability, preparation, and a really good market environment. It can provide a massive return, but it's typically reserved for more established startups that have the resources to handle it. Entrepreneurs might also look at other exit strategies, like selling shares to private equity or executing a management buyout, depending on what suits their goals. Ultimately, the best choice will come down to the company's performance, market conditions, and the founder's long-term visions. Franchises, on the other hand, have a much more straightforward exit strategy. One of the most common routes is selling the franchise back to the franchisor, especially if the business is running successfully. Many franchisors offer buyback programs, making this a very reliable exit. Another option is selling the franchise to another prospective franchisee, which is often a lot easier than selling an independent business. Finally, some franchisees might choose to liquidate their assets and sell off the business and its components. While these options are more structured, they often don't offer the same kind of flexibility and high rewards as the startup exits do. So now you know the 7 most important differences between starting a business versus buying into a franchise. So which should you start? I'll leave that up to you, but click this link here if you want to know how to build a startup in 7 steps.